I used to be addicted to r/animemes. Every morning in ninth grade, my alarm would go off, I'd snooze it for about an hour, and browse r/animemes for 10 minutes before dragging myself out of bed. I consider this a formative experience. A lot of my humor can be attributed to that time in 2019, where I would scroll r/animemes for a few minutes, usually, or at times a few hours each day. Therefore, to pay tribute, I wanted to do the unthinkable. Recently, two of my favorite content creators, Tom Scott and Gigguk, made videos displaying the power of GPT-3 and GPT-2 respectively. Tom Scott made a video using an AI that created unique video titles for his channel, while Gigguk made a video that created new and original light novel titles. My goal for today is in the same vein as both. It is to make titles for r/animemes. To keep this simple, I will just be creating titles. Making images as well would be a much harder task. Once I have titles for the animemes, I will create a few images based off those titles and then slowly over time post them to r/animemes and see how they do. Most of the people watching this video are not programmers or just haven't really dabbled in it. So I'm going to try and explain GPT and what it is through way of an analogy. You can think of GPT as the librarian of a very large library. This library is the internet. The librarian is brand new to the job, but very eager to assist you. Asking GPT to create new text is similar to asking the librarian to create text based on what it already knows. GPT has scanned not the entire, but a very large amount of the internet. So when you're asking for new text, it scans through its knowledge of the internet. However, if you don't train GPT on what you want it to look for, asking it to create text is akin to asking it, give me something random. Where the books that the librarian uses as a reference are literally random. For this project, the goal is to give GPT a bunch of titles from r/animemes to train it in what to look for. So when I'm asking the librarian to give me new text, it looks through its version of the internet as its reference and knowledge. However, when it's trying to create something new, it's referencing from r/animemes. This can be equated to creating a new essay. You go off what you already know, but the actual text you are creating is completely and brand new. Going into the project, I had a fairly rough choice between GPT-3 and GPT-2. However, I ended up going for the older version of GPT-2. The reason being is that GPT-3 is much newer. This causes some caveats. Although it is a lot better, it is, I believe, more restrictive in who can use it and how you can use it. And as a newer program, there's just not as much documentation. That's why a lot of people, for example, use older versions of Python versus newer versions for certain projects. So, for ease of access, I chose GPT-2, which is coincidentally what Gigguk used to make light novel titles. I trained GPT-2 on about 15,000 titles from r/animemes with over 500 upvotes posted anytime after 2019. Going back to the analogy, when I'm asking the librarian to give me something new, it will give me something similar in nature to a post after 2019 with the potential for 500 upvotes. All the posts it's seen have had over 500 upvotes, so it hasn't seen those 5 upvote spam posts. So hopefully it shouldn't create titles that are reminiscent of a 5 upvote spam. However, the problem with GPT is that the data you give it is completely new to GPT a lot of the time. So this is kind of a caveat to this really simple yet also complex system. When feeding GPT the 15,000 r/animemes titles, I obviously couldn't go over every single one, and I chose not to. So, for example, about 1/3% of them had the word trap in the title. So if I was, for example, asking 1,000 titles, I'd expect a small handful, mathematically around 2 or 3 of the titles, to have trap in them. And if you didn't know already, the word trap is banned on r/animemes because of its derogatory nature. This is because I made the post after 2019 partially so that it didn't have the word trap in it. If I was, for example, picking from 2017 to 2019, that word might have been a lot more commonplace, and the general meta of r/animemes would have been a lot different, so the actual memes I would have gotten out of it would have therefore been a lot different. I trained GPT for approximately an hour or two. I tried training it overnight for about 16 hours, but that ended up breaking 30 minutes in, and by then I was already asleep. I then generated only 200 distinct titles, which in the world of AI is not a lot, and then curated it to a list of around 50 that could possibly be animemes, or that in general just made me laugh. This, in and of itself, is extremely impressive. With just a few hours of work and training, GPT was able to create plausible memes with around a 25% success rate. In the world of AI, that is a lot. However, those were just plausible titles. Say I wanted to go to the ones that really made me laugh, that actually made me laugh out loud, which is rare for a Reddit meme. Even then, it was still about 2.5%, or around 5 titles that actually started making me laugh out loud. Considering I could have generated 1,000 of these titles in maybe a couple minutes and then curated them over the span of an hour, the fact that it would leave me with 25 approximately really damn good titles is something that is pretty impressive for an algorithm, essentially, just a set of numbers. So, finally, here is a list of my favorite meme titles along with some images I created to go along with them. I have this split into 2 sections. One is the lists that I actually do have memes for, and then the list of ones that I couldn't be bothered to make memes for, or one of them was just so creative that it could be really anything, and maybe someone in the comments wants to make this their own. So, for the first one, Cyberpunk Kazakoi no Koi no. I actually have no idea what Kazakoi no Koi no means. The internet wasn't that helpful either, and all it really said is it might be Bulgarian, and that even then it translated to the exact same thing in English, but I just threw it on the list for the absurdity. The meme itself is just Cyberpunk 2077 with Aqua and a magic staff. I just did that because, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 is like trash, just like Aqua, at least the reception. The next one is literally just the essence of a trashy post. 2D eyes, ara ara. I said that so wrong. Just because I did it bad in the moment, here is a better ara ara. This one, I just said, you know what, this is actually something I would probably see on r/animemes, and I probably didn't make the best post for it. It's just Belle Delphine grayscaled with some Ahegao eyes, but maybe someone has a better idea. The next one, Italia to Senpai. This one, my first thought was just, 1, it's funny, and 2, I decided, you know what, Girls und Panzer with just the Italian flag. I don't know why, but that's just the first thing that came to my mind. And the last one is probably the most generic name, but generic names sometimes do lend way to a very good meme. So, the Ultimate Bunny Senpai, which is just Maya's Goku. These are some of my favorites, and with a really high quality meme alongside them, and I'm not saying mine are super high quality, I can see how they would perform very well on r/animemes or other subreddits. These are definitely not all the memes I'm going to be posting. I have 50 good titles, and I can within minutes generate an infinite amount more and just make memes to go along with them. However, some of my favorites that I have yet to make a meme for are You can learn more about this game at https://www.reddit.com/r/animemes. I really like the idea of this one, just an r/animemes game, or just a game where it just links back to r/animemes. The idea of that is just, it's hilarious to me. The absurdity of this one and also the typo in it is really, really funny. I'm not saying this is a good one, but I'm just saying it made me laugh. Did you know that everyone who plays Pokemon have a cute girl meme? Ignored the fact that it says have instead of has, even though has is the grammatically correct version of saying it. The next one, this one just honestly made me die laughing when I read it. US motto, sauce, sayonara senpai. There's just so many possibilities for it. There's just so many. And then the final one is what you would expect an r/animemes title to be, which is just ara 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 ara, which is, I'm guessing, it just saw aura 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 and then just replace it with ara ara ara. Maybe it even saw this exact title and decided to lengthen it or shorten it. I'm not going to make this video's conclusion a warning to the possible dangers of AI, because that's overdone. Yes, AI will have the potential to become very, very powerful in the future, but I'm 17 and the only thing I'm really concerned about is making some memes. What I will conclude on, however, is the impressiveness of how accessible AI has gotten over time. AI definitely requires a decent amount of knowledge to operate, but with the advent of libraries such as GPT, which is what I was using, and maybe even the future GPT-3, 4, who knows what, it can turn most programmers into data scientists and AI programmers. I only really know the conceptual basis of how AI works, and I've only really ever made simple algorithms. But the fact that with just some simple data science, I was able to create a really good AI to make animemes is, to me, really, really impressive. It was only some simple Python that I used. And it's just, to me, impressive. I genuinely enjoyed this project, and it's not even that hard. So if anyone wants to try their own version of this, go ahead. If this video interested you at all, which if you stayed this long, I'm guessing it did, I suggest watching Tom Scott and Gigguk's videos on GPT. I will link them in the description. For now, these memes will slowly go up on Reddit, maybe r/animemes, maybe other subreddits. If anyone has come from r/animemes and stayed this long, thank you. Now, keep scrolling and enjoy the shitposts.